How's it going, Eliminators? Today we're going to be going over all the things that you need to look for when buying a snowblower online. So let's get right into it. So I have a Craftsman 8 horsepower 28-inch snowblower here. This is basically your average snowblower, but let's say you just show up to someone's house and you're looking at purchasing this snowblower. The first thing you're going to want to do is come up to the engine and just put your hand on it. Make sure that engine's cold. If it's warm, then talk with the person that is selling the machine and let the engine cool down a little bit, because what you'll find is if someone has a snowblower that they want to sell and it's hard to start, they'll actually start the snowblower up before you get there and run it, so that once you do get there, it'll normally fire up first or second pull. Once you buy it and take it back home, the following week you go to start it up and it may be hard to start or it may not start at all. So first things first, we're going to go ahead and undo the dipstick. We're going to pull it out and you're going to want to inspect the color of the oil. If it's real dark, that means that it's probably never been changed, and that's not a good sign. What you want is a nice golden color. So we can see here that it is getting a bit dark, but this oil has been changed within the past year, I'd say. That's a good sign. We can also see that the amount of oil is right at the full line. It might be hard to see on camera, but that dipstick is wet all the way up until the full line. What you don't want is the oil too low below the add. That means that the snowblower has been run without enough oil in the engine, and there could be some internal damage inside of the engine. Next up, you're going to want to ask whoever owns the machine what kind of octane fuel they run inside of their snowblower. If they run a low, let's say 87 octane, that means that it's going to have quite a bit of ethanol. It could be 15% or more. Ethanol is a grain alcohol, and it will actually deteriorate your rubber fuel lines, because the rubber fuel lines on most small engines aren't designed to run over 10% ethanol. On most snowblowers, they're going to have a fuel shutoff valve and the fuel line right off of the tank in the open, so this gives you a good chance to inspect the fuel lines. You want to make sure that the fuel lines aren't cracked. You want to make sure that the fuel shutoff valve doesn't leak, and if they do have a fuel filter installed, you want to make sure that is clean and free of debris as well. If the fuel line is cracked, that means it's going to need to be replaced, and chances are that's your first sign that the machine hasn't had a lot of work done to it. Now, your average snowblower is going to have what's known as a heat shield, and underneath this heat shield is where your carburetor is located. So you can see that here is the carburetor. What you want to do is take your finger and put it on the bowl of the carburetor and look to see if your finger is wet with fuel. If it is, chances are it's going to need a carb rebuild. Another thing you can do is check the engine block for oil leaks. So you guys can see that there's a seam on this engine block right there. So there will be a gasket there, and you can go and look at the frame of the machine and just look for a bunch of pooling oil. Now, if you have a lot of oil on the left side of your machine, it may not be an oil leak. It may be just oil vapor escaping from the crankcase breather tube, which normally comes out of the left side of snowblowers, and a lot of them don't run back into the carburetor like you'll see on newer lawnmowers. They just vent into the atmosphere. You guys are gonna see right there, there is your crankcase breather tube, and you guys can see that it's wet. That's normal. So as your engine runs and creates oil vapors in your crankcase, it's going to vent out, and it's not uncommon for the left side of these snowblowers to be wet with oil. What you want to do is just check these seams here and make sure that there's not a bunch of oil pooling in front there. If the engine is cool and the person who owns it goes to start it up, see if there's any little tricks that they do to get the machine running. On a snowblower that's tuned up, you should be able to put the throttle to full, put the choke into the on position, prime it 2 or 3 times, and it should fire up first or second pull. Now, if the engine on the snowblower you're looking at has an electric starter, it would be a great time to ask the person to show you that it works. Simply plug it into a 120 volt outlet, go ahead and press that button, and you should hear the engine turn over without any grinding noise. So on the right side of the snowblower, here's our electric starter, and it has a shaft with a gear on it that connects to the flywheel. If you go ahead and press that button on your electric starter and you hear a really loud grinding noise, chances are you're going to need a new gear on your electric starter, or the bolts have vibrated loose and your starter could be simply misaligned. So at this point, you could go ahead and just make sure that all of your bolts are there on the electric starter. Now, if someone owns a snowblower that is hard to start, a lot of times they will only use the electric starter to start the machine. So what you want to do is ask them to pull start it first, and that will tell you that the pull starter works, and you can also get a good look at the pull start cord. You guys can see here that this is a new pull start cord. So this has been replaced recently, and it means that if for whatever reason your electric starter doesn't work and you need to pull start your machine in a heavy snowstorm, you can go ahead and pull on this and you don't have to worry about that pull start cord snapping. while you're talking with the individual who owns the machine, you can walk around and do these things that I'm showing you now. One of the most important things is going to be checking the play in the axle bushings. So on these snowblowers, the axle goes through the frame of the machine, and you're going to have bushings on either side of where the tires come out on the axles. Now, the way you check those bushings for play, as it's called, is you're going to grab a hold of this handle and you're just going to lift up on it, and what you're doing is you're basically looking to see if the tire and the axle moves up and down in that bushing. You want to make sure that it doesn't have a lot of play in it. If it does have a lot of play, chances are your axle bushings are going to need to be replaced. Next up, you're going to want to remove the belt cover. What we're going to do is quickly remove the 2 bolts on the right side of the machine here and remove the 1 bolt on the left side, and we're going to go ahead and pull off that belt cover. I would recommend bringing a socket set because it turns out on this machine there were 3 different size bolts. Having different size bolts for one item isn't going to be that uncommon, because as these pieces of equipment get older, they produce vibration. You lose a bolt here and there, people replace them with whatever they have. But now that you have the bolts removed, we can go ahead and just pull off the belt cover. We can see here that this one has cracked and kind of patched with a little bit of black tape. Again, not uncommon. What you want is the main part of the belt cover to be intact, because a lot of times these belt covers act as a belt keeper. So you're going to see a little bit of wear in there. That's completely normal. These belt covers are going to help keep your belt onto the pulley of the engine. But with the belt cover removed, you're now going to be able to have a nice look at your belt. You guys can see that this snowblower has a brand new auger belt, and the drive belt looks to be in okay condition. It's not cracked. If you read an ad and there's a whole bunch of information and it says fully serviced or serviced annually, chances are it may have belts that are in good condition. So going back to reading the advertisement, if there's not a whole lot of information, chances are the machine hasn't been serviced and belts may not have been changed. Next up, we're going to want to check the play in the main auger bearing. So the shaft that comes back for the second stage of your snowblower, there's going to be a main bearing that holds that shaft in place, and what we're going to be doing is grabbing a hold of that big pulley down there and lifting up and down. But the problem is, with the auger disengaged, there's actually going to be a brake that's pressing up against that pulley. So what we're going to do is come to our auger lever here, and we're going to engage that. As you engage it, you're going to see your idler pulley put tension on the auger belt. Now what you can do at this point is just go ahead and push on that side of the belt and make sure there's good tension on that belt. That will ensure that your idler pulley is adjusted to the proper position. If not, you can see that this idler pulley has a slot cut into it, so you can adjust the position of that pulley to put more tension on your belt. You don't want a whole lot of tension on it, but it needs to be tight enough that the belt won't slip when you're throwing snow. Now, if you went to look at the snowblower with 2 people, you can get someone to hold the auger handle in, but I have a quick clamp, so I can do this by myself. So with the handle engaged, the brake on this pulley is released. So now we can reach inside of here. It might be a little difficult, but what we're going to be doing is lifting the pulley up and down and side to side, and you're just going to check for a lot of play. If there's not a lot of play, it means that your main auger bearing is in good condition. So I'm going to try to rock this back and forth, and you guys can see that that pulley is not moving at all, which means that the bearing on this auger housing is in good condition. But if you want to see what a bad bearing looks like, check this clip out. You guys can see just how bad it is. So this bearing's been gone for quite a while, so that's a huge difference. This one didn't have a lot of play in it, whereas the one on the red machine did. So by spending a couple minutes to remove a few bolts, you can check the condition of the bearing and possibly prevent yourself from having an expensive repair sometime in the near future. Now, buying a snowblower out of season, as you guys can see, there is still green grass on the ground. It's going to be difficult for you to get an idea of how the snowblower works because you're not going to be able to blow snow with it. So you basically just want to get the person that owns it to fire it up, let it sit there and idle for a minute or two. Make sure that there's no misses in the engine. You want a smooth idle. You want to hear it run perfect. You don't want the thing to backfire or sputter, because if it backfires or sputters, chances are it's going to need a carburetor rebuild. And if you don't have the tools, the parts, and the technical know-how to do it yourself, you're going to have to take it into a shop, and that can be an expensive repair bill for something that you just purchased. Now, without the machine running, if you want to check the friction wheel and how it engages, go ahead and engage your drive and then pull the snowblower back as hard as you can. If it doesn't move, that means that the friction plate is engaging the rubber friction wheel nice and tight, and that there is no slip in between it. With the snowblower running, you want to put your snowblower into the first gear. That's going to be the slowest gear there is. What you're going to want to do is push on your drive, and the snowblower should start rolling forward. With both hands, grab a hold of this handle and pull pull back as hard as you can. And if the snowblower keeps trying to drive away from you, that means that there's excellent tension in between the rubber friction wheel and the aluminum friction disc, and that there should be no slipping when you drive into a large snowbank. If your snowblower is in first gear and you have your hand on this and you're pulling back and your wheels aren't spinning and your snowblower isn't driving forward, let off of this, because what's happening is that friction disc is slipping inside and you're actually going to burn it out if you hold it too long. Now at that point, it doesn't necessarily mean that you need a new rubber friction disc, because inside of this spring is going to be a threaded rod, and what you can do is simply back off the lock nut, tighten up the lever, and that will allow for more tension on your friction disc when you go ahead and engage this lever up here. And a lot of times that's just a quick, simple fix, and you'd be surprised how many snowblowers have come into my shop where a customer thinks they need a new friction wheel, and all I have to do is make a slight adjustment that takes literally 2 minutes on that threaded rod there, and they're back in business, their snowblower doesn't slip anymore, and they're happy because they don't have an expensive repair bill. And lastly, what you want to do is go ahead and engage your drive. Your snowblower should drive forward. If you go ahead and shift it into reverse and get on your handle, your machine should back up. A lot of times if you put it into reverse and your machine still goes forward, that just means that the friction wheel isn't going to the other side of the friction disc. And on these older snowblowers, you're going to have what's known as a tie rod end, so it's completely adjustable. So it'll allow you to loosen off the lock nut and then twist this and put less or more tension onto the shifter, which will move that friction wheel farther over to the left or right to adjust for a shifter that doesn't put your snowblower in the proper gear. Next up is something that isn't really that important because it's not that expensive of a repair, but the thing you want to check now is pressure in your tires. So because snowblowers sit for the majority of the year, a lot of times the tires go flat. And as these machines get older, the tires will crack, and if they don't have tubes in them, they will leak air. So what you'll find is when you go to purchase a snowblower, you buy the snowblower, get it home, and then the next week the tires are flat. That's because they have a slow leak, and the person that owned it probably filled them up with air right before you got there. So if you're dealing with someone honest, you can just go ahead and ask them, how often do you have to fill up your tires? If they say never, then chances are they're being honest. And if they say once in a while, it has a slow leak. At this point, it would be a good time to mention that if you can't install a tube yourself, you're going to have to take this machine into a tire shop if you cannot remove the tires from the axle. So going back to my how to service a snowblower video, if you haven't seen that, I'll link it in the top right of your screen as well as in the description down below. Lots of good information in there, so you want to check that video out. But if you can't remove the wheel from the axle because it hasn't been greased or lubricated properly in the past, the wheel is going to be seized to the axle, which means you're going to have to bring the whole entire snowblower in to a tire shop for that tube to be installed. And the tire shops here locally charge more to install a tube when the tire is on the machine, and you save a bit of money if you bring the tire into them separate from the machine. Next up, you want to look at the shoes for your snowblower's auger. These ones you can see have a top and bottom. They are reversible, which means that when the bottom side here wears out, you can unbolt it, flip it upside down, and you've now doubled the length of your shoe. Other snowblowers may not have the double-sided shoes, or skidders as I like to call them, so you just want to check to make sure that they're in good condition, and if they're not, then you know that that's going to be a purchase you're going to have to make in the near future. Now, one little thing that not a lot of people would do, you can bring an adjustable wrench with you and pull off the plug for the gearbox at the front of your auger. Basically, you're just going to want to make sure that there's grease in there, because sometimes as these snowblowers get old, the gaskets will get dry and cracked. These gearboxes will start to leak, then the gearbox may be dry, and that's a sign that the machine hasn't been serviced annually, and you want to stay clear from that, because if the gearbox goes, you're going to have a costly repair. With the snowblower running, go ahead and engage the auger, or use your quick clamp to engage it, and just make sure that the auger is spinning and that the shear bolts are inside of the auger axle, and that they are shear bolts and not actual bolts. You'd be surprised at how many snowblowers have come into my shop with a blown gearbox because a customer hit a chunk of ice and the shear bolt didn't shear because it was replaced with an actual bolt. So you want to make sure that there's the proper shear bolts inside of your auger, because shear bolts are made to shear, and when a chunk of ice gets stuck in here, that shears so that the axle will keep turning, but these auger blades won't, which is going to protect your main gear. And while you're looking at the front of your machine, if you can see any grease fittings, now would be a good time to inspect them. You see the little bit of grease coming out of that grease fitting? that means that someone has pumped some grease into there, and we know that that axle is lubricated. So that's pretty much the basics of what you want to look for when purchasing a snowblower that's used. It's a lot of information, but if you go step by step, you can even take a little checklist with you. So if you're there talking with the person trying to sell you a snowblower, you can simply go through the list, make sure everything's good, and you'll know that you get yourself a quality used snowblower for your winter season. So that's it for today's video. Hopefully it will help anyone who's looking to go out and purchase a used snowblower online, and that you don't end up buying what's known as a lemon in the automotive world, because spending $250 or $300 on a used snowblower and then having to go and put $150 or $200 in repairs into it sucks big time. So don't let that happen to you. If you guys enjoyed the video, think about leaving me a thumbs up. You know, it really helps me out. You can click here to subscribe and click over here to watch one of my previous videos. I upload videos every single week, so be sure to stop on by next week, check the channel out for new content, and as always guys, thanks for watching.